Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam today. This is from the second canto, chapter 10, text 19. So first of all, this is represents some water, which is our consciousness, and our consciousness can be colored. Just like if you mix different colors in the water, it looks like this. It doesn't look like the pure water. So this is the living entity in the mature world who's carrying different conceptions of life. Another example is just like the air. It carries different aromas. The air can pass over a beautiful rose garden and it smells like rose. Or it could pass over a garbage dump and it smells like garbage. But it's not garbage nor is it rose, but it carries those different aromas according to its association. So as a living entity, we are a controller of our own body, and if you like, you can change your body to a higher grade or to a lower grade. Depends on what color you want to mix in that consciousness. So there's many different species of life, 8,400,000 species, and by a mixture of all these colors, we can get a particular form, a particular type of consciousness. And so just like, and then what happens is the living entity, he gets another type of body, a gross body, and it contains a particular type of ear, particular type of nose, tongue, sense of touch, and these are all grouped around that mind. So then he, according to that, he enjoys particular sense objects. So this is it. So this is our consciousness. It's originally pure, it's like water. But if we mix it with a certain color, it changes. So that's like our consciousness. It's pure spirit soul, but it changed according to the association of the material qualities. But as we know, real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. And if we're situated in Krishna consciousness, then we can have a pure life. Otherwise, according to our desire and consciousness, we can get different forms from the 8,400,000 different species of life. So foolish people in the material world, they can't understand this. It's described in the Bhagavad Gita. They can't understand how a living entity quits his body, how it gets another type of body. But we have to train our eyes to see. And this is what the Bhagavatam is doing. We're getting trained to see how this change happens and how we can actually really take control of our life. So we are endeavoring transcendentalists. We want to situate ourselves in transcendental consciousness, in self-realization, and develop our minds in such a way so that we can understand what is taking place. So this is Krishna consciousness. So today's verse, as I mentioned, it's the second canto, 10th chapter, text number 19, and we will discuss about this rasa, the different tastes that we can actually experience in the material world according to the particular body. So let's dive right into the verse. When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. Prabhu. The particularity of the gradual development of the different senses is simultaneously supported by their controlling deities. It is to be understood, therefore, that the activities of the sense organs are controlled by the will of the Supreme. The senses are, so to speak, offering a license for the conditioned souls who are to use them properly under the control of the controlling deity deputed by the Supreme Lord. One who violates such controlling regulations has to be punished by degradation to a lower status of life. Consider, for example, the tongue and its controlling deity, Varuna. The tongue is meant for eating, and men animals and birds each have their different tastes because of different licenses. The taste of human beings and that of the swine are not on the same level. The controlling deity, however, awards or certifies a particular type of body when the particular living entity develops a taste in terms of different modes of nature. If the human being develops taste without discrimination and as does the swine, then the controlling deity is certainly certified for the next term to award him the body of a swine. The swine accepts any kind of foodstuff, including stools, and a human being who has developed such indiscriminate taste must be prepared for a degraded life in the next life. Such a life is also God's grace, because the conditioned soul desired a body like that for perfectly tasting a particular type of foodstuff. If a man gets the body of a swine, it must be considered the grace of the Lord, because the Lord awards the facility. After death, the next body is offered by superior control, not blindly. A human being, therefore, must be on his guard as to what sort of body he is going to have in the next life. An irresponsible life of indiscrimination is risky, and that is the declaration of the scriptures. Sorry about that. So that's the end of the purport. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshus Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Upagatamayam Dadanti Swaha Padantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakopa Tibhyascha Kripasindu Vyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the verse again. When the supreme desire to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity, fire, was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. So here we're continuing the description of the supreme and all the different functions that that are given to us in this material world. And Prabhupada in his purport is focusing on this idea of the senses are like licenses, and we're controlled by the deities in charge of those particular senses. So according to our consciousness, according to our taste, then we will get a particular body. And that's very dangerous. So we have to be very careful, Prabhupada says, because what will happen could be a disaster in our next life. Just like we can see here, the water can change. It could be a beautiful water, but then all of a sudden it could turn very ugly. This is actually a natural occurrence here. This is from some different algae that happens. But it's not always natural like that. This is also showing, this is the coloring of the water. This is also natural. It's algae. But this is not natural. And this is our plight of our society now. This is a place in China where some big industrial plant spilled all kinds of pollution into the water. And this is our plight. We have a natural consciousness, but it becomes polluted according to our greed and our desire for sense gratification without respect or consideration of anyone else, or without being grateful for anyone else. With the beautiful resources that we've been given, instead of being grateful and appreciating the giver, then we just try to exploit it, and this is what happens. Our society becomes polluted like this. Prabhupada uses a nice analogy about how these senses are like networks how that tongue, it's actually considered to be the most important sense within our body. So first of all, it's described that we should control this tongue. And we know Bhaktivinoda gave that song. He sings, Taramade Jiva Ati Lobamoya Sudormati. That's our conditioned state. We're packed up, Sarira Avidya, in a network of this material body. So these are dangerous senses. And the tongue is the most dangerous. So this is what we're called. We're either this so-called suffering or enjoying, it's all according to the body. And this human form of body is a great opportunity because we have the opportunity to become God realized. And that begins from where? The tongue. Sevan Mukhe Jivadu. So if we engage our tongue in the loving service of the Lord, then we can actually make some pure consciousness. We can get free from these binds of the material world. We see those, what are those networks, those strings, those ropes, is from the modes of material nature. And we're being controlled by them. And we can see above them is, of course, Krishna, the lotus feet of Krishna, who's controlling them. So ultimately, Krishna is control of these demigods. So this is a network. It's just like a fish. We're caught within a net. So we're caught up in the network of this material body. And we're changing this net in various phases of life. The 8,400,000 different holes of this network where you can actually experience. And this is actually a network of ignorance, avidya. Avidya jal. Sarira avidya jal, Jatendra Kal. This is a network, and we're imprisoned within this network of ignorance. And why are we being continued in this way? Is simply because of these dangerous senses. Trying to enjoy sense enjoyment. Ultimately, we're ripped out of our home, and we're put on out of our natural home, and we're here thinking we're enjoying the material world. A fish out of water, how can you enjoy? It is not our place. We're caught up in this net of the material world, trying to enjoy this material world, which is impossible. That's not how it's meant to be. Isn't the cities just like that network? A huge network where all these different nets we're bound into. Big city. These are all like different bodies. There's also another nice example of how the senses, they're like serpents. Bhaktivinoda sings in that same song that the kala means serpents, kala sarpa, and it can bite us at any moment. In fact, we're being bitten at every moment by these senses, which are like serpents. All around us, we're like in this dark well, surrounded by serpents. And that's this body, the senses, like snakes, and we're being constantly bitten by them. So these senses are very dangerous, and they can bring us down at any moment. It just takes a second. But we see this kala sarpana. A devotee says, I'm surrounded by all these serpents, but I can break his teeth. So if these fangs, this kala sarpana, if that fang is broken, then they're taken out, then it's no more dangerous. So this is our process. We've got so many of these snakes, but by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we can break these fangs, then we will not be fearful anymore. And how is that possible? Just like the fang charmers, they do that. They take out the poison, and then it's useless. But again, we have to be careful that actually, if these fangs can actually grow again, and how is that possible? It's described that simply by bad association. And then again, those fangs will grow again. So that lusty desire is again awakened according to our association. And that's the cause of our repeated birth and death. Bhutva, bhutva, praliyate. So this is what we want to avoid, is bad association. They're like fangs. They're causing our fangs to grow and causing us to become poisonous, poisoning this life, this body, this consciousness. Prabhupada mentions in the purport how, these senses are kind of like licenses. And here's a nice kind of a mock-up license as people are playing around with, thinking that, I have a license to enjoy. Someone has kisses all over his face, the other one has dice, he can gamble, and, could drink, and we have so many, we just take advantage. We think, I have the right, I have these senses, and what are they meant for? They're meant to enjoy. But that isn't the proper thing. Prabhupada mentions how if you get a license to do some business, the government will give you a license. That means that you must do the business in order to satisfy the government. They say you can't do this whimsically, you have to do it properly according to the law. So similarly, we have to also follow the codes of the Vedas, which are the law books given to us. And if we violate those, then we become implicated like criminals, and then suffer. You can be degraded. Just like if you're a criminal, you can be imprisoned and punished. So this is what's happening, is that people are not following the Vedic direction. They're being disobedient to the laws of God, and that's called vikarma. It's unauthorized work. It's sinful work. Work not taking from the direction of the Vedas. So just like you have this license to drive, that means that you know how to drive properly. But if you just drive crazy and you drive on the wrong side of the road, then you'll get a ticket. That's unlawful. Then you'll be punished, and you could be degraded. You could take this license, could be taken away from you. Because why? You're not satisfying the government. You're not following the laws properly. So there's a supreme state, and there's a supreme law, and that's given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Vedas. And these Vedas, they come from Him. They emanate from Him. So we have certain laws. We have this body. There's different impediments that we have to be careful that will impede us with these proper license that we have. It's described in the Nectar of Instruction by Sri Rupa Goswami that first impediment is what? Atjahara. It's overeating or over-accumulating things like wealth or whatever. When we give free rein to the senses, trying to enjoy to the highest degree, then what happens? You become degraded. So Prabhupada mentions how devotees just should eat only enough to maintain the body and the soul together. But don't allow the tongue unrestricted license to eat anything and everything as he likes. And then we've been given certain foodstuffs that we should eat. We should eat foods in the mode of goodness like grains, fruits, vegetables, milk products, sugar, and nothing more. So devotees, they don't live extravagantly. They just simply, they eat whatever's offered to the Supreme Lord. And that's their only interest. Their only interest is in prasadam, is the spiritual foodstuffs that are offered to the Lord. And in that way, He satisfies his tendency to taste with the tongue. This reminded me of we used to distribute books at the Denver Zoo, and there was one employee there who used to pride himself. He used to come up to us, and he knew that the devotees were vegetarians. I mean, he would get our books and stuff, and every time he'd come by us, he'd come and brag about all the different kinds of animals that he'd eaten. He would travel the world to taste different animals, and he would just pride himself on how many different species of living entities he was able to eat and taste. And that's, we were just like appalled, but he thought he was getting great pleasure out of telling us all these things like that. So this is the tongue. It's very dangerous. If we can't control the tongue, then it obliges to take different types of bodies one after another. Just like this tiger, you can see, if you're very interested and fond, like this employee, in satisfying the flesh and the blood of different animals, then he'll be given the facility to taste those different things like that. He'll get a body of a tiger or a body of some other lower species like that. So this, indiscriminate eating is very bad. I mean, he could become a hog. And then what will be his food? It'll be stool. So that's the law of nature. It's like that. So we have to be not like the tiger and just eat what it does like that. In the human form, we're supposed to discriminate what we can eat. You can be indiscriminate and eat anything and everything, but there's a price. But we should learn how to discriminate and eat properly. So this is the perfection of our consciousness, is to help raise it by eating and discriminating what we eat. Otherwise, then we'll fall from a higher species down into the pool of the 8 million forms. There's different 1,000 types of tastes that we can experience. So we have to make proper use of the human form. Otherwise, we indulge in eating like this employee, then we may get a life of a lower species of animals. So what's the use of that? So we're very fortunate that this Krishna consciousness is a transcendental movement, and it's meant for elevating our consciousness. And there's certain moral codes that we know that we should follow. Just like if you pass a graduation course in a university to practice law, then once you practice that law, then you graduate and you get the degree, you get the permit, the license or whatever like that. So similarly, if we take to Krishna consciousness, then it's to be understood that we've performed all kinds of sacrifices. So, but what about the ones that are not Krishna consciousness? They must abide by rules and regulations, but in this age, it's very difficult to follow rules and regulations. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya is so kind that he gives us the greatest gift, that you can come directly to Krishna consciousness and then everything will be done. So Krishna consciousness is nice, and immediately you can rise to the transcendental platform simply by chanting Hare Krishna. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita that one who is, however, taking pleasure in the self, who is illuminated in the self, who rejoices in the self and is satisfied with the self, is fully satiated, and for him there is no duty. So this is the process. That one who takes pleasure in the self, he can actually experience real enjoyment. That's Anandamaya Vyasat. That's very joyful. So this is what our society is. You mix with joyful people, a joyful society, and then automatically you become joyful. But if you mix with criminality, like we mentioned, by association, you can bring those fangs back, then you will become like a criminal, and then you'll be punished. So simply by association, you can change. So if we associate with the Supreme Joyful, then we become joyful. Automatically it happens. There's no separate endeavor. You'll just simply, by that nice association, you'll become very joyful. And that's with the association with what? With the Supreme. And then you're satisfied with the self only. And that's how we should identify ourselves, as that I am a servant, an eternal servant of Krishna. And if I engage in his service, then I have no other duty, and everything will be complete. So this is the person. He is fully Krishna conscious by his acting Krishna consciousness, and then he becomes fully. And he doesn't take any more pleasure in the material world, like these lower tastes of wine, women, and Prabhupada mentions other infatuations. So this is the reservoir of pleasure is Krishna. There's that book we published with this picture. It's called The Reservoir of Pleasure. So these books are meant to be given to all the people in society, these sinful people, They don't think they're doing anything wrong. They won't admit it. But if they get some good association, then they can change. So that association is very important, it's required. And that's why these temples are there. So that if one is fortunate, then he can understand. So this is what this age is recommended. That you don't have to change your position. You just simply hear about Krishna from the right source. And then everything will be all right. So Krishna comes, he shows his Bhagavad Gita, he sends a representative, he comes himself as Lord Chaitanya, different representatives, different pure sons he sent, just to tell us, you fool, you sinful rascal, take up Krishna consciousness. Just like a father coming to guide his misguided son. And whenever he gets a chance, he'll say, my son, please don't do this. It's not good. But do this instead. So similarly, this is Krishna. He's our Father. He's coming to us and telling us that we should not continue this sinful activity. But he wants us to come back home, back to him. These books are very powerful. And just one example, I got a call on the BBT just last week. There was a man from New York. And he said, yeah, I would like to talk to somebody about this book. And I said, okay. And he said, yeah, I have this Bhagavad Gita. I've had it in my house for I don't know how long, so many years. And I always thought that other people were such rascals, and he's always, looking at other people as, egotistic and puffed up and mean and things like that. And he said, I started reading this book. And I decided that, let me read this book for 3 hours every day, out loud, and see what happens. So he started doing that every day, reading out loud for 3 hours the Bhagavad Gita. And he says, you know what? It has become like a mirror. I actually can see who I really am. I actually understand that I am the rascal. I am the fool. I'm accusing so many people of so many things, but I'm the fraud. And it just humbled me. And now I'm beginning to see who I really am and what my whole purpose in life is. I thought I was God. I thought I was the supreme. But actually, I'm not. You realize it. So he was explaining like that, and he was saying, I just want to thank you so much for making these books available. So it's very nice. This is happening every day. People are getting these books, and their lives are changing like that. So this is what there is the possibility. We just take the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, through these transcendental literatures that are available, and we can get a highest pleasure, which is, Krishna consciousness. So this is our process. You please, you perform sacrifices, and then you please the demigods. They're actually in charge of our senses. They provide everything that we need. So if we perform sacrifices, then they're pleased, and then they're nourished, and then we're nourished also. And then there's prosperity for everyone. So this is very important. If we're a godless society and we think that everything's just being controlled, automatically everything's been done. Just like we think, oh, I'm home and I have this electricity, I have this light bill, I have this water bill, but it's just coming automatically. I don't need to pay or show any gratitude or pay any tax or anything like that. It just comes. But that's foolishness. It's working automatically, yeah, but, there's someone behind it. There's a person behind it. Just like our car is automatically running, but there's a driver. So just like the government, it's there's personalities behind it, but it goes on automatically. It's like a child, he thinks that everything's going on automatically. But it's not. There's a person behind everything. And this is the whole process in the human form of life, is that we have to be grateful. Just like there's income tax and different kinds of taxes that we have to pay, so similarly, there's also a heat tax from the sun, there's a water tax from the rain, so many different things like that we have. So this is the Vedic injunctions, that there has to be performed sacrifices. Otherwise, what will happen? There will be irregularity of rain. There will be irregularity of heat, or excessive heat, excessive cold, and then people suffer. So these demigods are actually empowered administrators of Krishna. And if we please these demigods, then they are pleased. And Krishna is pleased also. He likes that. So just like we have these different limbs of the body, and they carry us, we can see, we do so many different things. So they're acting, and they're acting because the demigods are acting, and Krishna's desiring that they act. So we're dependent on these. And if we perform yajnas, then it's showing our gratefulness. We're becoming very grateful. It's interesting how you see people, a lot of people are talking about how we have to become more and more grateful. I mean, there's like very wealthy people, and you see them and they're just miserable and they're angry. They have everything, but they're angry. Why? Because they're not grateful. If you're grateful, how can you be angry? Because you're very satisfied. You appreciate what's given to you. You don't think that you're the supreme controller and everything's happening because of you. Otherwise, you do become angry and disturbed. So this is important. We have to understand that the demigods, they accept these different kinds of sacrifices just like taxes. But ultimately, we're meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And this is what we're ultimately doing, is satisfying Krishna. And today, because of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, there's no expense, there's no loss. You just simply have to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And all the demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everyone will be satisfied, and there will be no difficulty. Here we see, just like performing these yajnas, it's described in the Bhagavad Gita that, by performing yajna, the edibles are sanctified, and by eating sanctified foods, then our very existence becomes purified. This is the process. Even there's a quote, I think it was by George Bernard Shaw, that you are what you eat. So your body is either purified or impurified from the food stuff that you eat. So therefore we have certain, regulations, certain things that are forbidden, certain things that we should eat, like grains, milk, butter, fruits. That's sufficient. So why do we need to eat anything else? It's not necessary. Otherwise, if you become impure, then your consciousness becomes stained. It becomes colored. So this is what is offering really pure foods to Krishna. Then our whole consciousness, our body, our brains, everything becomes purified. All the finer tissues are nourished so that we can actually think about the path of liberation. Otherwise, if we become contaminated, it's like the body is diseased. When you're diseased, how can you think properly? If you're infected by some impure thing, it's not possible to think clearly. You suffer and you're not happy. And this is all due to our sinful activities. This is what keeps us from understanding who we are and understanding how things are happening. So this is the proper way of doing these things. There's so many unlimited forms of different varieties of foodstuffs that we can offer to Krishna. So palatable. Thousands and hundreds and thousands of preparations you can make for Krishna. This is one ceremony for Govardhan Puja, where we offer a hill of food to Krishna. This is there's so much variety. So this is what we have to do, show gratitude, offer these things back to Krishna. But if we don't, then we're like a thief. And this is all how the living entities, we subsist on these food grains. And where does this food grains come from? They're produced from rains. And where do the rains come from? From the performance of sacrifice. And this sacrifice is born of our duties, man's work. So that's the cycle. It's not that the cycle isn't that you eat meat or you eat other things that are not mentioned. The whole cycle for the human form is meant to follow this particular cycle. And then we're utilizing our inner property, and then that's the way that we purify our consciousness. Here's a nice plate of Bhoga becomes prasadam. But if we don't offer in sacrifice, Prabhupada said there'll be a time when there won't be any more butter. There won't be any more cows. You know, you can't manufacture butter, you can't manufacture a cow in your plant. So we have to be very grateful to the cow. It's given us so much, just like our mother supplying so much. But people are so foolish, they're continually committing sinful activities, and therefore they are suffering. So it's a very risky life, as Prabhupada mentions, that they're following. So there's a nice prayer. Sarida Vijajal, Jitendra De Kal, Jifule Asagare, Tarmade Jyoti, Lobamoy Sudumati, Taki Jita, Katina Samsare, Krishna Bodhadoimoy, Kodi Bodha Jiva Joy, Swaprasad De Labai, Senamrita Power, Radha Krishna Gunagawa. O Lord, this material body is a place of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow we have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us and have given us such nice prasad just to control the tongue. Now we take this prasad to our full satisfaction and glorify you, Lord Radha and Krishna, and in love call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. So here we can see, so by serving Krishna and offering food to Krishna, we're actually associating with Krishna. And eventually we will actually go back to Krishna like this. And that's just by understanding how to use the material senses. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriya. So these are the senses, the Indriyas, that when we take advantage of this transcendental loving service to Krishna, then Krishna will reveal himself to us. So that's important. The first business is to engage the tongue in the service of the Lord. Sevanukhihi Jivadu. Jivadu means the tongue. And then how to engage in service of the Lord? How to engage that tongue? By chanting, glorifying Him in His form, His pastimes, tasting His prasadam, and that way we become purified. There's a nice prayer in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Shiva is saying, "My dear Lord, I wish to see you exactly in the form that your dear devotees worship. You have many other forms, but I wish to see your form that is specially liked by the devotees. Please be merciful upon me and show me that form, for only that form worshipped by the devotees can perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses." So this is a very nice prayer, Lord Shiva. I think it's in the song sung by Lord Shiva. That's where that's from. So we have all these different relationships or different tastes or different rasas are described. So we have these various senses, the powers of seeing, tasting, smelling, touching. So we have all these propensities, but all these senses, they can be satisfied simply by engaging in the service of the Lord. Hrishikesha, Hrishikena, Hrishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. So that's bhakti, means to engage all the senses in the master of the senses. So this is very important. So we have to become free from this false designation that I'm the enjoyer. It's for my enjoyment, but we have to engage everything in Krishna's service. So this is what Lord Shiva, he wants to see the Lord in that form which is inconceivable to anyone else but the devotees. So these are the qualifications to understand Krishna, is that we have to have discrimination like the swan. We can't be indiscriminate in our eating. The swan can actually just take the milk mixed with the water, take the milk out only. So similarly, this material world is a mixture of spirit and matter. And if we can discriminate what is spiritual activities, what are spiritual tastes, and then we will be like a Paramahamsa. That's one of the qualifications. Another qualification, or in other words, the swan is just interested in spiritual activities. So we have to be spiritually interested. That's our focus. That's where our tastes have to be. And then the other qualification is that we have to be very thoughtful. We have to think about these things, how things are not just happening automatically, how we have to be responsible. We have a license and we have to follow these particular activities properly. So this is a muni. So there's Paramahamsa and then there's muni. We have to be thoughtful, considerate. And what is the other qualification? Is amala. So all this indiscrimination and things happen. Why? Because of sinful activities. Mala means bad, means dirty. We have to become amala, we have to become pure. And if we become pure, then that is one of the qualifications to understand Krishna. We can't think clearly, we can't focus properly, we don't know how to discriminate properly. So this is very important. So this indiscrimination, dirty things, they're accumulated within the heart, and it's due to our sinful activities. And the more sinful we become, then the more our consciousness becomes colored, covered with these different impure colors. We have to remain pure, pure as a clear water. And then see, we can actually enjoy pastimes with Krishna in the spiritual world where all the senses will be satisfied. And then there'll be complete happiness and bliss. So thank you very much. I'll go to Srimad Bhagavatam, so we can open it up for some more comments or questions.
I'll be right with you, Prabhu.
Okay. Prabhu, before we set that up, I'll be right back. I have to take care of something.
Okay. Sorry, I got it.
Are we unmuted?
Well, I hope so. What is the chapter and place of the Shiva's prayer? To show me your original form that satisfies all the senses? Hello?
Gaudacandra said he had to excuse himself for a moment, so he'll be back in a second. But someone else may
He'll
know the
be
answer.
right back.
Be right back after this.
Are you thinking of Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Pahutamukam?
No. He said Shiva has a prayer to Krishna.
I don't know that verse.
I don't either. That's why I want to find it. And I can know.
I was thinking Gauda was talking about how Prabhupada foretold that in this, as this age of Kali progressed, it would be very difficult to even find nice foodstuffs to offer to Krishna. And I was thinking, well, certainly one of the most important ingredients in offering and worshiping the deity is milk. And I remember as a young child, every morning we would have, the milkman would come and he would bring in nice glass bottles, milk. And I mean, there's no such thing as of the word homogenize. We never heard the term. And the cream would all come to the top. And it was just so wonderful. And now what we get, it barely even resembles milk. It's homogenized, it's pasteurized, it's full of artificial vitamins. I think the most you can get is like a 4% butterfat. The butterfat is so important for the fine tissues of the brain.
And then they're telling people you're lactose intolerant. You have a disease.
Yeah.
It's the milk that's no good.
And the steroids that they give the cow, the hormones. They have little girls, 10 years old, beginning to menstruate already because of so many hormones in the cows. It's just awful. And vegetables as well. It used to be you go to the farm, and or even the produce you would buy in the store was nice and healthy. Now they have so many chemicals and pesticides that they put on them. And now the newest thing in the last several years is GMO. They're messing with all the genetics of it, and it's already showing all kinds of problems. And who knows what it's going to be, what eventually we'll see. In America, it's so political. And a farmer can't even produce his own seeds. They're all seeds copyrighted. You can go to jail. You can go to jail if you harvest your own seeds.
Do you happen to know how many foods in America are GMO now?
No,
I know all the wheat. I don't know, but all the wheat, all the corn, all the soy.
Yeah.
Those three I know. Do you know?
No, I don't.
Bananas. Bananas are all GMO.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, Narhari, because Bhakti Raghava Swami was just here last couple of days, and he gave a very nice presentation on what the mother cow wants. And he gave a nice little presentation about the cow just, saying that she wants to be protected and she wants to have her milk offered to Krishna, but yet now I'm being slaughtered, and where do I go for protection? So many things. It had some nice images and like that. And he was talking about how the cow is so important. You can see the little cow in the background in this picture, how it's so important that our whole society, the whole Vedic cultures and the whole Brahminical culture is based on the cow. Everything is based on the cow. And he gave this nice mantra, is Om Shri Sarabi Namaha, is that we have to worship the cow. And first, if the cow is protected, then the Brahmanas will be protected. And then the Brahmanas are protected, then the whole world will be protected. It's just based on the cow. Otherwise, how can we perform these yajnas? You need the milk to mix the ghee. We offer it to Krishna. And without this cow, it's the source of actually all food too, because you can't perform sacrifices without ghee, the cow. And as we mentioned that verse in the Bhagavad Gita that, rains are produced from grains and, nourish the grains, and then we get the rains from sacrifices, and sacrifice is one of our duties. So if we chant Hare Krishna, we follow these Vedic regulations, then we can actually have a peaceful society. The society will be protected. But now, the world's not protected at all. In complete danger. Just like the fish caught in the net. We're just caught up. So that was a very nice presentation. I think it's on YouTube. It talks about what the cow wants or something.
I was thinking a lot about that because Bhakti Raghava Swami came over to visit. He
came
over to my place. We spent several hours together.
Oh, you saw that video? Yeah.
No, I didn't see the video. We just sat and talked, just God brother to God brother.
Nice.
And, Raghava Prabhu was here with us, and it was very, very sweet. He really got us thinking, really opening up our minds to how exploited the cow is. Even if you buy milk, if you buy milk, you're supporting animal slaughter.
Yeah.
It was to save money on the delivery trucks. It's all on the shelf now. It has a long shelf life. Yeah. I looked at this half and half. Its expiration date is 3 weeks. How can milk last 3 weeks? It's full of preservatives.
Yeah.
But they wanted to save money on the trucks and the delivery, so that stopped. And the milkmen had a strike, and they lost.
And of course, this longevity is put into all the foods we eat. They put, you buy a loaf of bread, and it lasts weeks. Whereas if you bake your own bread, really just in a number of days, if you don't freeze it or eat it, it's going to start to mold, which means it's healthy. Things grow in it. It's full of life.
Because now it's all the money. The cheating, right now it's in the hands of bankers, corrupted Vaishyas. And somebody comes and say, I have a way to make this last 3 weeks now. You don't need trucks, you don't need delivery. You can stay on the shelf, stay in the refrigerator. For 3 weeks, you'll make a fortune. Good idea.
Yeah, there was one doctor in California that got raw milk legalized. One of his arguments was that you could put homogenized pasteurized milk in the fridge for a long time, and what will happen? It'll actually rot. But if you put raw milk, then it'll turn to yogurt and something that you can actually use.
Ah.
Things like that. But yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That is.
This is Bhakti Luciano. I was just wondering, when I buy milk from the supermarket, if I offer that milk to Krishna, do I benefit the cow in some way?
Yeah, I mean...
That's a good question. A lot of devotees are becoming vegan because they say we don't want to support the dairy industry, because even the dairy cows eventually, once they go below their quota, they go to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you don't offer that milk, the cow is not benefited. So it's a moot. What's the good, better balance?
Well, for now...
To boycott the milk, or offer the milk and benefit the cow with some sukriti.
I can tell you, Bhakti Raghava Swami told me that he will only drink ahimsa milk.
Yeah. So did he tell you about the 12-year plan that they're doing? So, I mean, in their interim stay until we actually set up our own ahimsa farms and cows. I mean, he's going on a 12-year marathon to educate people about, cows and farms and milk like that. So until that state, I mean, we're in the process of doing that, and until that state, what can you do? It's Kali Yuga. But we should gradually, I mean, it was good. It was an opportunity. I had some ahimsa milk yesterday that was left over that someone offered to Bhakti Raghava Swami from our farm in Escondido here in California. They have some nice cows, and they provide the temple with some nice milk. It's very good.
The taste is so different.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's not even related. The milk you buy now is just like this kind of white water. And when Ramananda Prabhu brings this ahimsa milk from the Big Island, it's like something from a heavenly planet. It's unbelievable. And I mix a little bit of honey in it. I'll have hot milk in the morning and hot milk at night. Mix just a little bit of honey in it. It tastes like, somaras or something. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he was telling us also that some devotee analyzed what they call pure ghee in India, and they found out that it's, some could be from buffaloes, or it's not even, it has chemicals in it, or it's not, it even has animal products in it. So that's why it's so important for the devotees to do their own, like Prabhupada wanted us to develop.
Most of the milk in India is from water buffalo milk.
Yeah.
Because they give a lot more milk.
Yeah.
Economics. Farmers. That's why I always wondered, why is the Vaishya lower caste than the Kshatriya? Kshatriya can kill, can hunt, have sense gratification. Because Vaishyas lie, they cheat.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm making no profit.
Yeah, it's supposed to work in cooperation, everybody, but because Krishna is the center. But until we have a head like the Brahmanas, then there's not going to be any society. Prabhupada wanted to develop the head.
Actually, any occupation in this world, there's always fault. In Gita it says, Sarvaram vahidoshena, duminagnir ivavrita. So that all activity in this world is covered by just like fire is always covered with some smoke. There's always smoke produced from fire, and there's always some impurity dealing in this world.
It's true. We have to perform our duty.
But if we do it for Krishna, then it becomes purified.
Yep.
You talk so much about performing sacrifice. That's really nice.
I love how he chooses all these different visuals. Could you get rid of that quacking bird? It's tinging your Krishna consciousness with smoke. The choices he has. Is he back yet?
I'm here. I've been here. Yeah, I've been changing.
Oh, you mean, what is the verse that Shiva says to Krishna to show your original form that satisfies all the senses? Where is that? Got a chapter and verse?
Yeah, I do. It's here. This verse. It's from the 4th canto, 24th chapter, text 44. Chanting a song sung by Lord Shiva.
Very good.
Very nice purport by Prabhupada.
That'll go with the Hisopanishad Hiranmayana verse. That can be coupled with that one.
Very nice.
Godaji, going back to your opening graphic of all the colors.
Yeah.
So we're still full of colors from our desires and our association of so many births. So we're kind of like that, full of all these different, a kaleidoscope of colors of material desire due to our past. How do we purify all this and have our only desire is to serve the lotus feet of Krishna?
Well, that was the whole purpose. I mean, the whole theme of the class is that we have to, purify that consciousness through the process of chanting and through the tongue, basically chanting and taking prasadam. So the chanting also means glorifying, reading the books and things like that. Just like that person that called from New York, he was completely, demoniac, puffed up person thinking he was God. But when he got association and started to use his tongue out loud to glorify Krishna, reading Bhagavad Gita, he actually became purified. His mirror started to clear up and he began to see who he really was acting like. And then he got new direction and he was practically in tears, grateful for these books.
Also using his sort of a combination of the tongue and the ear, because when he started reading the books, even though he's saying out loud, I guess that's really both. Most important in that sense is the ear, is hearing.
Yeah, because these senses.
We begin by tasting prasad. That purifies us enough that we really want to hear, we're able to hear. But Shravanam, Kirtanam, they're really the two most important is hearing and chanting. We drink pibanti. We drink pibanti bhaktam atma satang katam shavam puteshu sambritam. That we drink through our ears the nectar of Krishna's glories. In this Bhagavatam, just hearing you speak, we're all here with our ears wide open, listening to the transcendental sound and seeing these beautiful graphics. As you said, it's true. That's just purifying our hearts.
Yeah, because
we just have to continue. We can't stop.
Right.
Well, I think there is another thing that we need to consider. This is Mahesh. The couple of days ago, just very, very short time ago, it was on Saturday, I went to the beach. I take my swim usually around noontime. I went swimming, and there was a current. Within seconds, I was taken away from the beach very, very quickly by this ocean current beyond my powers. I couldn't believe it. It's like within seconds. I'm a very good swimmer. I know that beach very well, and I swim every day there. But within seconds, the ocean took me away from the beach. And when I saw that, I said, oh, this doesn't look good. I better go back. So I started swimming very, very strongly. And I'm a strong swimmer. And I was swimming really, really hard. But still I was getting tired. But it so happened that the lifeguard had, is a very experienced lifeguard, had been watching the waves and the currents for, several hours, and was already in the water knowing that someone like me would get in trouble. And so just a few feet from me was this lifeguard with a life preserver, and of course she had fins, and she was a very strong swimmer, and she knew that someone was going to get in trouble. So I was swimming back towards the beach very strongly with all my power, but I was getting tired, and I was still very far away, and the current was still there. And the lifeguard said, hey, do you want to hold on to my life preserver? And I said, yeah, sure, I'm getting tired. Let me rest for a minute. She said, no, just hold on to it, and I'll take you out. So I hold on to the rope of the life preserver, and she started swimming very strongly. It was a lady lifeguard, very powerful Hawaiian swimmer, and had fins. And she was swimming very strongly against the current. And finally, we were both pulled out by the waves and, of course, her very powerful swimming out into the beach. And then when I got to the beach, I was a little bit tired from the whole experience, and then I thought that, well, by my own efforts, I may not have been able to come back. But because there was a lifeguard there with a life preserver and as well as fins, in other words, the tools in order to get me back to the beach, I was able to come back to the beach. So, and I translated that into spiritual terms, and I realized that ultimately we, at some point, the energies of the material world are so powerful that they sweep you up into the ocean of the material world, and it's practically impossible to get out of it. But the lifeguard, knowing that we're going to get in trouble, that lifeguard knew that needed to come to New York City with $8 in his pocket and a bunch of books and talk to us. That lifeguard, is not that it just came out of nowhere. He had that intuition that this is the material world, that the currents are going to take us deep into the ocean, and just came because he came deep into the ocean to save us with some tools. He had fins, he had a life preserver, that chanting of the holy names gave it to us. But also, even today, I think we still need a lifeguard nearby. The tools were given to us by Srila Prabhupada, but still, I think we need qualified lifeguards that have been trained in this spiritual life-preserving science to get us out of the ocean. I think the fact that we need gurus is very important, not that we can just, in other words, you can swim all you want. You can be a very powerful swimmer. You can put all your strength to swim and get out of the water, but still, I don't think you can do it. You need a lifeguard.
It's the power of association. You have to get the association of a pure devotee. That's a good analogy, Prabhu. It's very good.
And your story, Mahesh Prabhu, sort of lays waste to that saying, that women are the weaker sex, because she was able to pull you out.
Yeah.
Do you have time for one more question? Luciano, Prabhu has something else.
Sure.
Hare Krishna. I really enjoyed your class. I like to focus on the necessity to eat food stuff which purify ourselves. I made a question before about offering milk, and I'd like to sort of stay back on the subject, but share an experience which I have. I go to the local temple in Santiago, Chile, and for some reason veganism has been strong in the ISKCON movement. And I go in the afternoon to have my drink of charimandrita.
Yeah, charanamrita, yeah.
And I'm the only person who does that. I spoke to the Pujari and says, I'm a bit surprised that there's always almost like a liter of charimandrita and no one drinks it. I'm the only one. He says, yeah, you're the only one. There's 2 or 3 others who will come and drink it, but take it home if you want. If not, it goes rancid. So it's for me it's very worrying that veganism has produced this in the devotees, that they will not even take charimandrita, thinking that it can be offensive. It's just something which I find mind-boggling.
Oh, geez, that is. Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of devotees' health are not good because of eating all this bad milk, so therefore they take the opposite extreme of becoming vegans. But I find myself, if I just drink raw milk, I don't get the same problems if I'm drinking regular store milk. So some or another devotees have to really start these communities for cows and things, and then devotees won't be so, have to depend on these fads. But yeah, charanamrita, I mean, we should take it no matter what. It's very purifying. What's a drop of milk or yogurt going to do to you?
Well, I think people don't know any better, like I am I'm a member of one of these vegan societies now. But, you know, you kind of convinced me the other day, really, I was meditating on this. Without milk, without drinking milk, it's practically not possible really to reach the higher levels of Krishna consciousness. It's just not possible because the milk produced by the cows is actually pure bhakti. You know, I don't know how to explain that. It's kind of a mystical thing, but
they say all the demigods reside in the cow, too. Plus, you know, Krishna had cow. That's the first thing Krishna did, take care of his cow. He loved his cows. Yeah, that's true, Prabhu. Thank you.
So we have to develop these communities. We have to figure out how we can support cow protection. You know, cow protecting farms, that the cows can be protected. We can get the milk to offer to Krishna. It's very crucial.
This is Jai Jagadish. A couple of months ago, I visited the farm. I'm in Santa Cruz, California, and I visited the farm where Vaisheshika Prabhu and the temple in ISKCON, Silicon Valley, is supporting, maintaining a cow on the farm of, he's not a devotee, but he's very, very favorable and really loving what he sees about how the devotees take care of the cow. So I visited the farm with an old friend whom I know from a choir I used to be in, and she's been a vegan for a long, long time. She's not a devotee, but she's pious, I would say. So when she saw the devotees garlanding the cow, who has now been named Surabi, and when she understood how wonderfully the cow is treated, she kept saying, "Oh, I hope this cow understands how fortunate she is," etc., etc. So this vegan of perhaps over a year, who has never touched any milk products, ate yogurt that had been produced by this loved cow and offered to Krishna, and she was so moved by the whole experience. That's all.
Yeah, that's nice. They paint the cow with red paint on their hands and offer arti to the cow. So nice. I also give you guys a link to that nice video that Bhakti Raghava Swami had shown the devotees. It's a YouTube video, and I guess I could put it on the thing here. I'll find the link for that for you.
Please do. I saw it on LA Live, and it was very, very moving. I'd like to have a link to it.
Sure. Okay.
Can you tell it to us?
Oh, it's about 8 minutes, and it's a devotee's chanting in the background, nice kirtan.
He's asking if you can tell us the link.
Oh, the link. Oh, yeah, let me see here. Okay, that makes sense. I'm looking it up right now. Let's see here. I'm opening up my email where he sent it. But yeah, there's a lot of nice programs happening in ISKCON. Different devotees around the world are doing this self-sufficiency farms, cow protection.
But a thought comes to mind, because there's this kind of rift developing over veganism, non-veganism. But I think we need to put everything in perspective and not bring up an issue or bring it up in such a way that it divides devotees against each other. I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just like criticize the devotees that are, have to take milk, but, gradually, it's a gradual process. Let's see here. Almost there. Let's see. And 15.
We have to be, I think, a little liberal-minded in terms of, on issues like milk, we really have to really respect both sides. I mean, I definitely lean towards the vegan side, but I totally respect those that have the other side, that they drink milk and they think the cow is benefiting, and it certainly is. And milk needs to be offered to the deities, and sort of have to take the best of what we have. I definitely see that side, but I personally would rather lean on the vegan side. And there's actually many issues within our society where devotees can have their own opinion. It's really more of a, I mean, we all know the principle. The principle is that the cow has to be protected, and milk is very important in worshiping the deity. But exactly, how we do that really becomes details, and everyone's sort of entitled to their own opinion, and we have to be a little liberal-minded and respect one another. Not to say I'm right and you're wrong.
Okay, I'm typing right now, and hopefully, I don't know if you can see this, but it's YouTube.com.
All I see is a variety of cookies and stuff.
No, it's in the text chatting.
Yeah.
On start meeting.
We won't see it until he actually enters it and presses enter.
Yeah, I'm almost finished typing here. Let's see here. Watch, and then he should have sent me the abbreviated version of it. Okay. Let's see here. I think that's an I for now. I don't know, is that a 1? I guess it's a 2. Okay, E Y S C N H A K. Okay, let me just check, make sure I got it right. HTTPS :m youtube.com/watch V equals 21EYSCNHAK. Okay. I send it now. See if it works. Did you get it?
Not yet. Not here.
No, there's not there. When I do the recording, I can put a link if you email it to me. Would that be easier? Everything went silent. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
We hear you, but I don't know if Gaudachandra's.
I think he may have fallen out.
I don't see him on the list. He may have gotten disconnected.
Yeah, that's, I guess, because his video went down and everything else. Prabhu's, it is a little bit late. Hey, we're about 25 minutes after.
Haribol,
So-
Prabhu.
Here we go.
I guess I got kicked off somehow when I hit enter on the text message. But I'll just forward it to you, I guess.
Yeah, just forward it to me, and I'll make sure that it's displayed next to your recording.
Okay.
Thank you for a wonderful class, Prabhu.
Thank you for being there. Thank you for association.
Jai Gauda Prabhu.
Jai, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Gauda Ji.
Jai Prabhu Ji.
Jai
Hare
Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna, Krishna Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam, Jai.
Jai.
Haribol.